Some happy news for Everton fans, which makes a change as Andre Gomes returned to full training, or at least with the full team, at Finch Farm. This week it's been a fantastic return for him, less than 3 months after he sustained that awful injury, a broken ankle which has kept him out since the game against Tottenham Hotspur in early November. Shaka, really good to see him back.
It is, and listen, regardless of whether you're an Everton fan or not, as long as you're a football fan, it's good to see players who've sustained such horrific injuries make their way back, because it feels like not so long ago that type of injury would have been a career ender. So to see someone, especially someone like Andre Gomes, who plays the game with a smile on his face, and I think everybody can appreciate, neutrals certainly take a liking to players like him. It's a feel-good story. Listen, albeit a little bit prematurely, but I think, again, as a neutral, seeing players return from these kinds of injuries, it's uplifting, regardless of who you are.
You see him play with a smile on his face, as you mentioned, and that has drawn Everton fans towards him. They really have taken to him with a lot of warmth since he was there on loan. And having made the move permanent, he's a kind of player that they don't have a backup for. He kind of runs the midfield. So how important is he going to be to Carlo Ancelotti?
Look, he will be. And again, though he's back training with the first team, he's probably still a long way away from being match fit, and even further from having the kind of impact that he did before the injury. But saying that, I think the impact of his return can be felt even before he steps on the field. For the same reasons that neutrals and Everton fans are happy just to see him back training, as a player and as a teammate, you're happy to see him back in the dressing room and back being part of that team banter, and knowing what he came back from, I think gives everybody a lift just in terms of their own mentality around the game. So he can have an impact certainly in that regard. We wait to see how long it is before he does feature in Ancelotti's plans, but kind of given the inconsistencies we've seen from Everton over recent weeks, you want to see him back, but you don't want to see him back too quickly in a way that somehow puts that return into jeopardy, certainly in the long term.
What's most important for Everton in the second half of the season, given that he's got to evaluate the playing staff that are there? He's got a little bit of time still left in the January window, but maybe they've got a few issues to sort out with sort of bringing new names in too soon. What's most important that they get done in the coming weeks?
Well, I'm tempted to say just solidify their position in the Premier League, but as an Everton fan yourself, I'm not sure that would wash with you. What do you think?
Well, I think
is Everton's, what is their bar? Where do you think Everton need to be come May? I'm asking you. I'm turning this table.
The reason I asked the question is simply that I think as an Everton fan, I would look at it and say, well, we're not quite sure what to expect from the aura of Ancelotti at this point. Does he need time in the transfer market? Does he need a huge amount of funds? Does he simply need time with these players in order to work his magic, his tactical nous, improving the sensibility where they're not going to concede 2 goals from the 94th minute onwards to give away 2 points at home to Newcastle?
Nothing wrong with conceding 2 against Newcastle, Ross, as I've found. But listen, in all seriousness, Ancelotti does need to start getting his own players in. I think a manager can only do so much with players who don't fit in with his style and what he wants to do. So inevitably, you'll expect a lot to be happening come the summer in that transfer window, and only then I think you can judge Ancelotti on how he's taking Everton forward. And as much as when he came in, as surprising a signing as it was for Everton, and as feel-good a signing as it was, and maybe announced Everton's and the board's intention as to where they want to take this club, it was always going to take some signings before Ancelotti can really make this team or call this team his own. I think you'll see that in the summer, given that we're this close to the end of the January transfer window, before this team can really start to be moulded by Carlo Ancelotti, and only then can he rightly be judged.
Yes, there's a lot to be resolved at Goodison Park, but one key piece of the current playing staff is back amongst his fellow pros, and I'm sure loving life once again in Liverpool. Andre Gomes, welcome back.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.